Um, Today's topic is meditation and its roots in Hindu spirituality and the roots of Hindu spirituality in meditation. We will experience what meditation is about, and then I'll describe to you the context in which meditation fits into the Hindu tradition, and then talk about work. I do a series of talks about how professionals should learn to meditate. And as you know, children in high school, you should definitely acquire this skill early on in your life because you're going to need it. Because of what I do during my day job, I can tell you that computers are working extra hard to keep you distracted and to take the jobs away in which you don't need too much attention. So work it out mathematically. They're lowering our attention span and taking jobs away that require low attention spans. So if you're human, you have to learn to gather your faculties inside yourself. So learning to meditate is an essential skill for everyone, especially professionals. If you're planning to be professionals or human of any type, you should learn to meditate. It'll help. And we'll go through that experience, and I can describe to you how that works. Before we begin, any questions or anything that you urgently need to ask before we get in? Who's not watched the video? Who's watched the video? Very nice. All right. Any questions or comments that come out of that?
Yeah, can we get like two people to share like their impact, like what impacted you from the video? Biggest thing, that was the question I asked you, was what impacted you the most from the video? Like two volunteers. Can I hear from?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I had a bigger impact from the readings. I liked how, the most impactful part for me was the part that said, that like we are stardust and how like everything's a cycle, like recycled from the stars. And I thought that was really fascinating. That really hit me. And yeah.
Thank you. Any other inputs, comments? I'm trying to wake you up. It's the first class in the morning. All right. So let's begin. I'd like you to begin by just sitting upright. Just sit upright. We'll begin with just paying attention to ourselves. So sit upright, sit with your back straight, close your eyes, relax the expression on your face, relax your shoulders, relax your belly, your back, neck, and head in a straight line. And as you sit there, just relax. As you breathe in, feel your breath fill the entire body. As you exhale, feel yourself relax into your body. Keep your attention on your breath, just traveling in and out with your breath. Feel comfortable. Feel relaxed. As you breathe in, try to breathe in a little more fully, as if to fill the entire body with your breath. And as you exhale, just relax. I'm going to chant Om and then the opening prayers, and then I'll describe what the prayer means in English. You've obviously read the translation and my interpretation. Just listen along. Just let the sound wash over you. I'll be chanting Om 3 times and then the opening prayers. If you like, you can bring your palms together at the heart center. Otherwise, you can just interclasp your fingers and just keep them on the table. That's all right too. Exhale, take a deep breath. Inhale. Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may we both be protected. May we both be nourished. May we work together with great energy. May our knowledge be radiant. May there be no difference or disputes between us. Om, peace, peace, peace. You may open your eyes, just blinking. So, it took me a couple of hours to get here in the morning. I set out from my home at about 7:15 to 7:30. I live in Dublin, which is East Bay, and I hit the road. It was okay on the freeway until a few exits out, and then the freeway just blocked out. And then it turned out everyone was heading to the city. And from there on, it was just red lights all the way to the end. So I stopped, I took the BART, and then I walked up from the BART station to get here. And in the 2 hours it took me to get here, I thought about this question. Why is it that things are so slow during rush hour? When you commute, when you begin to work, you're going to commute, and when you commute, this question will come to you every morning, every evening. Lots of people on the street. During rush hour, when you expect to rush, no one's going anywhere. Everything moves slowly. And that's why we meditate. We meditate to stop the whirling of our mind. A lot of the work that we actually do in this world involves us to think. But having simultaneous thoughts hitting your mind at the same time clogs up the brain traffic. And pretty soon it's rush hour in your mind. You got stuff going on, you're distracted, you have interrupts, your phone's buzzing, your stuff, your friends come by. There's something going on in your mind at every time. And because of that, your mind just can't get to wherever you want it to get to. Even though you may be earnest in your attempt to get your work done at that moment, your mind just would not cooperate. And the reason for that is simply we live really distracted lives. We live lives where our thoughts have a life of their own, they have their own energy, and they go where they wish. And because they all want to go where they wish, none of the thoughts get anywhere. So as professionals, as people who think, it's important for us to learn to meditate. Because through meditation, we're able to slow down the thoughts. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. So learning to slow down the thoughts takes practice. When we're born with the neurons connected, every neuron to every neuron. And then over the next few years, the neuronal connections start dying off, and then a few neurons are connected to the others. There's tighter connection between those. And through this process of learning, which is we're disconnecting neurons and connecting a few, through this process of learning, we have habits, and these habits shape our mind, our brain, they shape our habits. So the process of unlearning this continuous chatter in the mind takes doing. In reality, meditation is not doing anything. Meditation is not doing anything, but to not do anything takes some doing. We're used to doing something all the time. Don't just sit there, do something, we're taught. So we do something all the time. But if you think about creative work, if you think about interesting work, if you think about work that you could truly say is genius, you would know that the experience of thinking those thoughts, those ideas, what do you read about them when you read about somebody's genius idea? The thought came to them. They didn't invent the thought from other thoughts. Do you understand? The thought came to them. It came to them from within them. But because the surface of our mind is filled with clutter, plastic, junk, we're not able to let those deep thoughts come up to the surface. Those deep thoughts stay deep within. Whatever genius we have locked up inside ourselves, we don't let it come out because we're so used to doing something. And that's why we meditate. That's why we learn to meditate, to tap into that deeper part of ourselves that truly makes us who we are, truly gives us the depth of and richness of experience that we deserve as human beings in this birth. Sitting distracted or being worried or concerned or just running from one thing to another gives us a much poorer quality of experience. As human beings, we are able to tap into a much deeper well of experience. But you have to work your way to it. You have to let the clutter just go away. And so we meditate. In the yoga tradition, I'm sure you're all familiar with the word yoga. Most of what you probably hear about it, does anyone actually go to yoga classes or do yoga? You do? Right. I teach yoga as well, which is postures. And postures is a part of a long line of things that yoga involves. The ultimate objective of yoga is union, yoke. When a wheel is yoked to the axle and the cart moves, if the wheel isn't yoked properly, so in your car or your bicycle, if the wheel isn't yoked properly, it's off. So it doesn't move smoothly, right? It wobbles. And when the cart wobbles, it doesn't matter if the road is smooth, your journey is going to be wobbly. So it's important to yoke the wheel properly to the cart. That yoke is the same word as yoga. And that's the objective of yoga, to yoke ourselves in this physical world to the spiritual world. And the process of yoga involves postures, which is the yoga that you might be familiar with. But it's a much deeper, much longer, much more complex tradition than that. Meditation, and I'll use the Indian word as well for it, but meditation, we'll use the word for now, is a step in that journey. And so in today's sitting, we're going to experience a little bit of meditation. Then I'll describe to you the context in which meditation fits into yoga. Then I'll describe to you how that context fits into the overall Hindu tradition, the dharmic tradition, Buddhism included. I'm going to pause here. Does anything I've said so far invite questions or comments or reflection that you wish to share right now? Feel free.
Did
Yes,
yoga, as I understand it, yoga existed before Hinduism, or how did yoga get incorporated into the Hindu tradition? Practices?
So yoga and Hinduism are braided, they're intertwined. So Hinduism itself, Hindu, the word itself, is a name that other people gave us. Because, for example, when you go to Mexico, do you have Mexican food or do you have food? I suppose you have food. Yeah, no one goes to China and has Chinese food, they just have food. It just happens to be food in China. It's the same way. The cultural tradition of a country being named is usually being named by people outside. In our own tradition, we call it Sanatan Dharma, which was the subject of my previous talk. We call it several things. There's several schools of philosophy. There are several schools of religion. There are several schools of beliefs, non-beliefs, disbeliefs, and unbeliefs of all types. And all of those, that entire vast sort of spread of tradition, full range, is part of the dharmic tradition. It isn't. You could be what's currently known as you could be a atheist and an atheist, and you could be a Hindu. You could be a believer. You could be a Hindu. You could be a fairly wide spectrum of beliefs, and you could be what's called Hindu. It's not a very sort of tightly defined school in that sense. So yoga itself, yoga and Hinduism are tightly intertwined. They're like what's the did the English invent the English language? And I suppose they're English because they speak English, but did they invent the language? The language came from other languages that existed prior to that, and now it's not only the English who communicate in that language. So it's hard to parse these things out, but there's a very tight linkage between the modern religion of Hinduism and its roots in the tradition which yoga is a part of. The texts that Hinduism refers to, a lot of those texts are actually yoga texts at the inside. And as a practicing yogi, it's called me to reconsider my entire tradition. Growing up, I thought I grew up in one tradition, and then I've had 2 decades of practice as a yogi, and I realized that my understanding was possibly incomplete without the understanding of yoga.
I thought it'd be interesting, like the living in the moment. Like I found that interesting, like to talk about, because like we always think about like the future, and like think about the future, the past, like things we want to do, or like things we regret doing. But like finding like peace in our mind and like meditating and living in the moment. Yeah, I thought that would be cool to talk about.
I feel like at a specific time in our lives as seniors, we're kind of really stressed about college and stuff, and our minds are just straight on the future. So I think it's important for us to still care about the present, because without putting our effort into the present, our future isn't going to be what we expected. So yeah, just keeping an open mind on the present is so important, or is as important as the past and the future.
Great. So that's helpful to know. Thank you. So I'll adjust my talk a little now that I have this feedback. Thank you for sharing. So I'll talk a little about time and now, and then I'll talk about meditation. But more than talking about meditation, I'd like to teach you how to do it yourself. And you can take the practice with you and practice every day. It doesn't take long. And then that's that. So let's go back to the idea of now and why the now is important. One of the big texts in yoga is a collection of aphorisms by sage Patanjali, and it's called the Yoga Sutras. And sutras are formulas. They're super crisp and tight. So Yoga Sutras are very crisply written. And the way they're written, you could practically read a few words and understand the whole system, because it's a consistent system. And the reason it's interesting for the idea of now is just the first 2 words. If you heard the talk that I did previously, the first 2 words of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra are Atha Yoganushāsanam. Now, therefore, with prior practice, the discipline of yoga must begin. That's just the 2 words. The first word is Atha, A-T-H-A, Atha. And there have been talks. I haven't heard the whole talk, but there's someone who I know has talked for 3 days about just that one word, and they weren't even beginning to get started. Because as it turns out, there's a lot packed into the word now, therefore, with prior practice. Atha. The objective of our conscious experience is to interpret what's going on. And the primary means of interpreting what's going on is to expand the idea of time from the now into eternity into the future and eternity in the past. It's an essential part of the fakery that our consciousness applies. So right this moment, as you're looking at me, you have thoughts circling your mind, there's stuff going on. You're not quite present here. And that not being present gives you a sense that you're going to live forever. Because if I ask you to imagine what happens after your death, it sounds pretty gross, right? It sounds like, what kind of question is that? Let me ask you what happened before your birth. It's not a question that you have an answer to. It's not an experience or a feeling that you have an answer to. But yet, you sit here in this moment, and your consciousness is telling you, hey, I'll be around forever. I've been around forever. Right? And so this extending of the conscious experience into the future and into the past is always going on. And this extending takes us away from being in the moment. And it reduces the quality of experience that we have in this very moment itself. Because we're worried about the past, or we're concerned about the future. Something is pulling us back or forth in time. And because of that, we can't experience as richly as we can. Now, in all religious traditions, there's this concept of awe, right? The grandeur. If you go to a huge cathedral, you're going to be awed by it. If you go to the Grand Canyon, you're going to be awed by it. You're just going to be breathless at the scale and magnitude of whatever the experience is. And at that moment, you can't take in what you're seeing. Right? You can't consume all of the Grand Canyon with one seeing. And because of that, your mind just shuts up. And you're just in that moment. And in that moment, you can now experience much more richly and fully. That one particular moment is filled. It happens also when, at peak experiences, when we're very happy, very sad, very satisfied. There's this brief moment in which our experience is rich, but most of our experience is of a very poor quality. So the practice of now, the idea of now, is simply recognizing that the past and future are not yet here. But here and now is right here. And we cannot exist other than in this moment. But you have to keep dragging your mind back. Because your mind wants to exist in the past and the future, because it wants to believe that it'll be there forever. Does anyone here feel like they're going to live forever? Yeah. This body is going to come and go. There's no question about it. But our mind is continuously acting as if it's not. So it's a trick the mind plays on us. Our conscious experience has fake news at the core, that we'll live forever, and it changes us. So being in the now is important for that reason. This is a Catholic school, right? Faith is an important part of this tradition. And you have to realize that the only way you can live in the now fully is to be filled with faith. And why is that? You have to be filled with faith because the reason you're worrying about the future is because you've got to take care of something. The reason you're worried about what might happen is because you think you need to do something that will do something else, which will do something else, and eventually the future will happen. You want to control the outcomes that the world has. And the only way to let go of that seeking of control is to have faith that what you do will yield fruit. If you're a farmer and you're putting seeds into the ground and you're watering it, you have to have faith that it's going, plants will come out, they will see, they will have flowers, they will have seeds, and eventually you'll have seeds to sell, right? Or crop to sell. So having faith is essential to the practice of being in the now, because it's the only way you can let go. That the world, this universe, God takes care of stuff. I'm not myself controlling this universe. It works, it's known to work, and it'll continue to work despite my, any other belief I might have. So faith is essential to being in the now. Prior practice is essential to being in the now. If you haven't done things that have got you here, if everybody else hasn't done things that have got you here, then the future outcomes will be different. I'm going to skip that thread. There's a lot I can get into. But prior practice is important to being in the now, because that's how you know that you can be confident here. Faith is important to being in the now. And the practice of letting go of the past and the future are important to being in the now. When you look at sportsmen, when you look at athletes or artists, they can't do their best if they're worried about looking at the scoreboard. Have you seen any athlete who's looking at the scoreboard as they are playing? You can't look at the scoreboard and play. You have to play, and the scoreboard will take care of itself, right? Part of the practice of being in the now is letting go of the scoreboard. Having faith that the scoreboard will take care of itself. That you have to do what you need to do, what comes to you, what you're good at. And then the rest will take care of itself. And so that's backed into the word atha. Atha yoganushasanam. Now with prior practice, the practice of yoga, the discipline of yoga can begin. So as professionals, as a professional, as someone who runs a company, I've been an executive in a large company, this is an essential practice because there is so much that is not in our control. The only thing in our control is our attention at any given point of time and where we choose to direct that attention. Influencing other colleagues or waiting for some windfall gains to happen because someone funded your project or something, those things you don't control. The only thing you do control is your own directing of your own attention. And so learning to direct our own winds of attention is important. So far so good? All right. So let's practice meditation. Let me tell you a few things about what meditation is in our tradition, and then we'll practice it. And I'll tell you how to do it. So when you need to do it yourself, you could just get in the zone whenever you want it. All right. The word for meditation in our tradition.
You have to transition your guests.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
The students switch, the young students switch out. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. See you.
So they'll be back. The two
Sure.
will be back when they
All right.
put them off.
A couple of minutes? We'll chat till then.
Yeah, we'll chat, yeah. When they get here, they'll
Okay.
follow along.
Which of you have you thought about the idea of meditation and silence? Is that, and most people most people I meet initially say that they can't be silent because their mind is always running. Do you feel that way sometimes? Yeah, stuff is always going on and you can't be silent. Have you heard the word Zen? Zen. Everyone's heard the word Zen, right? Zen is what the Japanese call meditation, the practice of Zen. The Chinese call the same practice Chan, C-H-A-N. And the Japanese word for that is borrowed from the Chinese word, which is Chan. So the Japanese called it Zen, which is how we received the word Zen here in the West. Before that, the Chinese called it Chan. And the Chinese inherited it from dudes in India who called it Dhyan, Dhyan, Dhyan. And Dhyan is the word that we use for meditation, which is Dhyan in contemporary Hindi language. It means attention. And in Sanskrit, it kind of means the same thing, attention. Pay attention. Learning to pay attention. Learning to have enough attention to pay to things is Dhyan. It's different from the English word meditation, because the English word meditation has an additional meaning of contemplation, of a thought that you're thinking about. You are meditating on the subject of civil rights, civic rights, or you're meditating on XYZ thing. There is an object of your meditation. And that, in the yoga tradition, it's a precursor to Dhyan, which is directed awareness. It's called Dhyana, which is you're aware of a thing, then awareness itself. And then you get to the final stage of the 8 steps of Patanjali's yoga, which is Samadhi, which I'm not going to get into, which is the objective of self-realization, knowing yourself. I'm just waiting for your classmates to come back. But let me ask you this: if you've camped out at night and someone's fooled around with a burning log of fire, you move the fire log like this. Right? You've seen those photos. There might be like you would have seen those videos or photos, right? Where you take a photo of a fire log, someone's waving it, and it appears like there's a line of fire or a circle of fire, right? And so if you move the fire log fast enough, it gives the impression that there's a circle of fire there, right? But when you stop the movement, you see the log for what it is, right? That it's a burning ember. It's the same with our thoughts. Our conscious mind, the interpreter sitting on our shoulder like our friend over here, is interpreting our experience and giving us the impression that we exist independent of this world, that we'll exist forever, and that sort of stuff. And the only way to quieten that chatter is to learn the act of meditation. What happens at the end of that meditation is this realization of your own self. You see the fire log for what it is. There's no circle of fire. It's just a burning stick of fire. Right? It's the same with our own knowledge of ourselves. So self-realization is the goal of yoga, or Ashtanga yoga. That's the goal. Self-realization. And self-realization is getting to know yourself directly, not from books, not from other people's experience. If I ask you who you are, your answer, guaranteed, is you tell me your name. Right? You're not your name. You know that. Because later in life, people will call you different names. It doesn't change yourself. Right? You're not your name. You were born teeny tiny, a little baby, and now you're all grown up, and pretty soon you'll be well-grown adults. Then you might have kids, and you might grow old. Then you will definitely die at some point. Right? You can't identify fully with the body either. You have a body, sure, but are you this body? Because if you just cut nails, did you just change because you cut nails? I shaved my hair today morning. Did I change because I shaved my hair? Did I become a different person? No. This self-identification with the body is another problem, that once we slow down the chatter in the mind, then we realize that we can't be this body. We have this body, but we cannot be this body. Then we say, okay, we must be this breath. And it turns out we can't be this breath because we can change the breath. And I'm going to teach you how to change your breath. Then your next conclusion is going to be, hey, I must be my thoughts because I have great thoughts. I'm a genius, right? I must be my thoughts. But like the great poet and singer Prince said, if a man is considered guilty for all that goes on in his mind, give me the electric chair for all my future crimes. We're not our thoughts. Because once you learn to meditate, you get to a state where you have no thoughts. Something still remains. So if you recognize that you're not this body, see you later. You're not this body, you're not just the breathing machinery, you're not the thoughts. What remains? Who remains? Yes?
Our actions.
Your actions remain, sure, but who chooses to make those actions? Who's in charge?
Like,
Who's running the asylum?
I guess it's just what we've been taught to do. Like, if, for me, for example, I've been taught by my parents, like, that certain things are wrong, so that I just don't do them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
But I think that our actions are a fair representation of who we are, but not exactly who we are.
Sure. In a sentence structure, that would be the verb. That an action is a verb. It's what you do. My question is, who are you? What's the subject of your sentence?
I guess it's different for everyone because we all are ourselves. And like, I don't know if there's quite a word to describe exactly who each of us are.
That's fantastic. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. What was before the Word?
I have no idea.
So the conscious experience, which is giving us words, at some point you realize you go to a state where there are no thoughts, no words, something still is there in your experience. Your experience is still there. It doesn't have a name, because how can it have a name? You give it names, but it's an experience. And that's what we want to get to through meditation, which is knowing ourselves. So when we say self-realization is the goal of yoga, it is to know ourselves better, directly, immediately, without any media between us and our true nature. Beyond this conception of us being a body, beyond the conception of us being just our breath, beyond the conception of us being our thoughts, something before all that, something at the base of our entire experience. We want to get to that because only then will we see the truth for what it is. And this search for truth is at the base of our dharmic traditions. If you look at Buddhism, you look at Hinduism, you look at Jainism, Sikhism, all these traditions, the core question in these is, what is the truth? What is true? And one way to arrive at the truth is to eliminate what's not true. And you scratch things off and say, can't be this, can't be this, can't be this, can't be this. And you work your way down this IKEA shopping list. You go all the way down to what remains when everything else goes away. That experience, not just from books, that direct experience, that direct perception is what we want to get to through our meditation. So, the meditation as Dhyan, as we practice it, we're going to do it now for about 10 to 15 minutes. We want to get to a stage which is somewhat paradoxical. So I'll explain what it is so you understand what's going on. Does everyone have the experience of sleeping? Does everyone sleep? You've slept. Are you active when you're sleeping? You're sort of inert, you're just lying there, right? That's one state of being, which is being active, being inactive completely. You're resting, but you're not active, right? Has anyone been in a sort of an accident or this intense moment where things slow down? Yeah. You've been in that?
I was like in May, I was in a car accident.
You were in an accident?
Yeah, I was driving.
How long was the actual event of the accident?
Oh, second.
Probably even lesser?
Yeah.
How long did it feel?
Oh, really, really long. Like it happened
in my head in like slow motion.
So super slow motion,
Yeah,
right?
Because a woman like reversed it into me, so I saw it like happen.
You could see her.
Yeah, she
And
like
you can-
floored it, but it reversed and it hit me into the car behind me.
Oh.
So it like totaled my car, but it just seemed really, really long. And then like after, I just had this like shocked like
The heart
moment
sinks.
where I just like couldn't move.
Yes. So that experience is at the other end of our conscious experience, which is extreme experiences where time slows down and we're intensely aware of things, right? We want to get to a happy medium in the two. We want to be rested and energized. So we just described a peak experience where like energy is to the max, it's off the charts, right? And the other experiences, we're just sleeping, we're not even dreaming, we're just not there, right? We want to be in a state where we're both rested and energized. I'll say this again, rested and energized. And there's a way to getting there. Now, do you know the autonomous nervous system? Autonomic nervous system. So have you heard the word fight or flight? Fight or flight, fight or flight. When you were having the accident, that's fight or flight. In that short moment, you're panic-stricken, your heart's pulsating right after that, and you're sweating. You're in control of your senses, but only barely, and just at the edge of that. So there are two systems that are below the conscious experience in our mind. Our conscious experience is our thoughts, right? But a majority of what's going on in this body is below the conscious experience, right? At this moment, if I ask you to grow your hair out one inch, can you grow your hair out 1 inch? Right this moment, you can't. All right. Okay, maybe that's too much of an ask. Can you stop digesting food for the next 10 minutes? Yeah, not really. Okay. Can you just stop your heartbeat? Can you do that for me for like 2 seconds? No, there's so much going on in the management of this physical body that we're not aware of. Are you aware that your heart is beating? Are you consciously directing it? Not really. Are you directing your stomach to go digest things? No. Are you telling your sweat glands to sweat? There's so much going on right now that you're not aware of, right? And yet you feel that you're completely in charge of this body, don't you? This is my body. I'm completely in charge of it. But you can't grow your hair. You can't stop your digestion. You can't stop sweating. You can't stop your heart. What the heck can you do with your body? How are you in charge? Right? So, why is this important? So the conscious experience. So the autonomous nervous system has two levers. Everyone drives. All right. So there's the accelerator, which is the fight or flight. It gets us out and about, right? The accelerator's job is to pump the heart, change the breathing pattern, let the blood pump to the edge of the body, and then you feel cooler, right? Did you feel your heart sink and then suddenly your skin became cooler and you're sweating in that accident? Right after?
I felt nauseous afterwards. Like my first initial reaction was that I was like really upset because my car was ruined.
Sure, yeah.
and then I sat down and I started to feel like sick in my stomach where I thought I was gonna be sick.
Yeah. So that comes to the second part, which is when you're in pure stress, fight or flight. Pure stress is fight or flight mode. Your body is not interested in the future. Why? Because if you're a gazelle in the savannah and there's a lion chasing after you, are you interested in procreation at this point? No. Are you interested in digestion at this point? You don't care. Why don't you care? Because you're interested in saving your life right now, right? You're just going to be chewed up by this haired lion right behind you. That you want to be running fast. So your blood rushes to the edge of your body. You're running away. That's fight or flight. The opposite of that is if you had, Thanksgiving meals and now you just want to lie down and not be talked to at all. That's rest and digest, which is your blood is now going to your stomach and you're now resting and digesting, right? So when I say the process of dhyana or meditation is to get to a happy medium between those two. Your accelerator and your brakes are in your control, right? So you want to be resting and you want to be energized, both. That's the state we want to get to. Any questions on this so far? We are not trying to dull ourselves into stupor because then we'd go out to sleep, right? And if that's what you want, you should sleep. But if you want to be fully active and aware and in control of your experience, you want to be rested and energized both. So a lot of meditations that you might get on YouTube tend to be affirmations. I have long lustrous hair. I keep repeating myself, that, and I may eventually have long lustrous hair. Who knows? That's an affirmation. This is not that kind of meditation. There's other types of meditation which are, here's some relaxing spa music and you should just listen to it. That is also not the meditation in the yoga tradition. That's relaxation and you should relax. That's a separate thing. We want to be relaxed and energized, rested and energized in three things. And that's the practice we're going to go into now. Three things. First, we will relax and energize the body. Then we'll bring our attention to our breath. Our breath is the interface between our conscious experience and our unconscious experience. It speaks in both directions, the breath. So if we control the breath, we can talk to our subconscious. We can slow down the heart rate. We can let our thoughts relax. So body, breath, and mind. And then our mind, we need to find a place where we hold on to the mind and let the thoughts go away. And at that stage, which is the one that you might see most of, it's hard to get to. But it's like Thanksgiving. It's like Halloween. At Halloween, if you're out of candy, what do?
Turn off your light.
You turn off your lights and you sit the heck inside your home because those little ghosts will come and go. You're going to ring the bell. You're not going to open the door because you got nothing to give them, right? You're done. And so that's what we're doing in that third stage, which is we are sitting tight. And the thoughts will come like little gremlins. We're not going to open the door to them. We're not going to open the door to them to say, hey, go away, or come on in. Neither of those. We're just going to just sit in. And they'll come in, they'll ring the bell, they might TP the house, but they'll go away eventually. These are good kids. No one TPs anybody's houses. Right? Yes? Yeah. Right. So the thoughts will come and go, and we're just going to say, all right, you can come when you want, go when you want. I'm sitting right here. And so now, with your body, with your breath, and with your mind, you've reached a state where you're both resting and you're energized. Right? The body, because you're going to sit with your back straight. If you slouch, it's going to affect your breath because you can't breathe, and you're going to go off to sleep. If you sit with your back straight, what happens is you can't slouch. It improves your breathing, but also it's a check against going off to sleep. Right? So you're resting and energized. The rest of your body will relax. Then you will get to the breath. I don't have time today to talk through the entire breath thing, but we'll shift our breath a little. And then we'll get to a happy breath. And then our mind. There are 112 things that you can rest them on the mind on. So there's a book called, there's a whole Tantra tradition, which is part of the yoga tradition. And there's a book with 112 techniques. We're just going to focus on this right here, the tip of the nose. Do you mind? This might seem funny, but promise, only I'm looking at you. Just put your finger on your nose. Feel this tip of your nose right here. Yeah. We're going to come here with closed eyes, so you have to be friends with the tip of your nose because you have to know where it's at. Now, it feels like this is a tiny little thing about this, about this big, right? But when you're looking at it from inside, this will be as big as the civic center. You will feel the nose, the space, the tip of your nose expand with your awareness. And that's the space we're going to be in. We will be right here watching the traffic. Everyone ready? Ready? All right. Try to play along. This is not, you can't do it if you're too tightly wound. So if you're doing it wrong, I'll give you instructions, you'll find a way to do it right. So be easy on yourself, be playful, and just follow along. And if you need the instructions, I can send you to my podcast, but you should learn how it feels at the end when you come back. All right? Before we begin, can you just pay some attention? Just close your eyes. Pay attention to the state of your mind. Just observe what thoughts you have, what's going on. Acknowledge that you do have thoughts. Sometimes. Now, without changing anything, bring your attention to your breath. Begin with the tip of the nose, but travel in with your breath, up your nostril, above your sinuses, behind the back of the throat, and down into the chest. Watch the belly rise and fall. The shoulders moving just a little with every breath. Just be aware of your breath. Hello, old friend. And now, without judgment, be aware of your body sitting here. If there's anything that calls itself to your attention, just be aware of it. Now, let's adjust the sitting. We're going to work on the body, then the breath, and then the mind. Sit comfortably. Sit in any comfortable posture. The hips and thighs on the seat. Feeling the entire weight of the body pressing into the seat and supported by the floor below. You can't fall in anymore. And you don't need to hold back any of your weight at all. Just sit comfortably. Sit with your back straight. The back, neck, and head in a straight line. Relax the expression on your face. Relax your shoulders. Relax your belly. Let the belly swell and shrink with every breath. Keeping the back straight, just lean forward just a little. Observe the weight has shifted away from the hips to the thighs. Come back to the center. Lean back into your chair just a little. Observing the weight has shifted away from the thighs into your hips. Come back to the center. Lean to the left. Lean to the right. Come back to the center. Find the weight equally supported between the left and the right, the hips and the thighs. Begin with the base of the spine and travel up your spine, making sure the spine is upright, alert. Relax your belly, relax your chest, relax your shoulders. Relax your upper arms. Relax your elbows. Relax your forearms. Relax your wrists. Relax your palms. Relax your fingers. Relax the entire middle part of the body. Bring your attention to your neck. As you exhale, bring the chin into the chest. As you inhale, take the nose all the way to the ceiling. Come back to the center. Tilt your head to the left. Tilt your head to the right. Come back to the center. Turn your head to the left. Turn your head to the right. Come back to the center. Find a place where the head floats freely on the neck. The neck muscles hold no tension, floating freely on the spine. The spine floating freely on the hips and thighs. The body sitting freely on the chair. The chair supported firmly by the earth below. Feel completely grounded and supported, keeping the back upright. Bring your attention to your breath, changing nothing, observing the breath. Bring your attention to your belly. Observe the change of the swelling and the shrinking of the belly with every breath. Now as you exhale, bring the belly in further, pushing the breath out of the belly first. And then let the belly flop as you breathe in. Breathing into the belly, breathing into the chest, breathing into the shoulders. And then exhale. Exhale gently. At the end of the exhale, pull in the belly. Begin again. Let the belly flop. Breathing into the belly, breathing into the chest, breathing into the shoulders. Exhale. Doing this, repeating this gentle, long breath for a few more cycles. Every inhale, feel as if you're filling every part of the body, the tips of the fingers, the tips of the toes. The breath must travel to everything. As you exhale, feel yourself relax. Now let go. Just let go. The body is completely relaxed, the spine is upright, the back, neck and head are in a straight line. Breathing is comfortable and easy. And bring your attention to the tip of your nose. Stay right here at the tip of the nose, not moving 1 inch, not moving 1 fraction of an inch. Stay right here. Observe as if you're observing for the first time. Pay close attention. Breathing in, observe the experience. Breathing out, observe the experience. Breathing in, the breath feels cool and dry. Breathing out, the breath feels warm and moist. Cool and dry, warm and moist. Stay right here at the tip of the nose. Stay right here at the tip of the nose. Your mind, like the bright blue San Francisco sky. Thoughts come like the fog, and the breath blows them away, revealing a bright, clear mind. Let thoughts come, let thoughts go. Don't stop them, don't engage them, don't repel them. Bring your attention to the tip of the nose and stay right here. Stay right here at the tip of the nose. Now, I'm going to chant Om to bring you out of this. When you come out, I'd like you to rub your palms together and gently cup your eyeballs with the warm palms. I'll give you instructions. And then blinking, open your eyes and pull your palms back. Right now I'm just going to chant Om. Rub your palms together to generate some heat. And then gently cup your eyeballs with the hollow of your palms, and blink as you open your eyes and pull your palms back like an open book. What's your experience? It was cool. All right. How about you? You? How's your experience? No, I'm looking at you.
Well, at first it was like very soothing, and then my body was relaxed to the point where I was kind of like falling asleep a little bit. But then like through the chanting, I kind of like it kind of woke myself up a bit, so I wasn't like falling forward.
Yeah.
So like I was like really relaxed.
Do you feel energized, or do you feel like I just need some sleep right now?
I feel not as tired as I was.
Right. How about you?
I think that it was really relaxing up until the point of the last minute, where I just felt like I couldn't be still any longer.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I think I learned that I just am so used to getting and going that it was like we only took like 10 minutes or even less, and by the end of it my mind was like, this is really long.
How long is this going on, right? Yeah. It's a that's what the mind wants to do. It wants to drag you into the future, into the past, into every other place but now. Because that's how the mind feels that it's in control. But you got to tell your mind who's boss. Your boss. So just relax and be easy. And if you need to move, just move. It's all right. You're not shackled up. The sound I made, Om, that's the symbol that you see over there, which is upside down there, but right there, that's Om.
It's over there, right side up on top of my wall.
Yeah. That over there, that's Om. The wooden symbol, that's Om. And if you see it, it's how we write in the Sanskrit script as well. but it's also how you sit, it's also how the sound comes out. A little from the bottom of the body, a little from the chest, and a little from the top, and a resonant sound right here in the nasal cavity. So that's how that sound, that shape itself is. You see Ganesh over here, who's, if you look just right, that symbol and Ganesh are not very different. And you could argue that, and some have argued that that symbol personified is Ganesh. But there's more to Ganesh than that. So that's the symbology. The sound itself is a sound. It's the sound, if the physical body was dog-like, maybe we'd be howling, and that would be our sound. But for the physical body, this is the sound that calms us down. Chanting can calm your body down, mind down. Humming can calm your mind down as well. And those are all practices. So Om, the sound, is considered holy. Not only is the sound considered holy, it is considered the same as the Creator. It's like the sun's rays are considered the same as the sun, because sun rays are there, and that the sun is there because the rays are there. So Om, the sound itself, is the experience of the Creator. And when you say in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God, that would be the same thing. This is the sound that created this entire. It's the sound of creation. And that's why we chant it. And it's the residual sound of all sounds. And so it's holy because it's the core sound, but you could play it the other way around. So it's holy in our tradition for this reason. But the reason it's picked is because it effects on us, and it's the way our body is designed, it's the way this universe is designed. All right, now questions, comments. Have I explained to you what meditation is? And it's linked to yoga, and it's linked to the dharmic tradition of Hinduism. Are the linkages clear? Yes?
Is meditation and yoga, are they like synonyms? Are they a part of the same aspects? Because you experience meditation during yoga,
Sure.
right? But does that mean that yoga, are they the same?
Yoga literally means to join. And anything that joins is yoga. So if you're joined this physical world to your spiritual existence, you might be playing, and that's the state you're in. You might be surfing or skiing, and that's the state you're in, because that's all. You lose track of time. If you read this book called Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, it's a book about psychology. It's a flow state is a state where you lose track of time. Other times when you've done something and now you look up, you're like, I don't know, it's been 4 hours. The time passed, right? That flow state is a peak state of experience, and that's yoga. Yeah. Yes.
How do you let go of your thoughts? Because
You don't feed those gremlins. You don't feed those critters, those gremlins, those trick-or-treaters. Just let them go. You feed them by acknowledging, by stopping or reinforcing, and by simply acknowledging that you're independent of your thoughts. They'll come and go, because trick-or-treaters are not going to stand outside your door all night. Eventually they'll just say, hey, there's probably nothing here, let me leave. And so, yeah. They'll go on their own. You don't have to let go. Questions, comments? Yes? Why do I like to lead other people into meditation? That's a really, really good question. Fantastic question. It's why I'm here. It's my thing. It's what I do. I could tell you why, but that would be a story. It's just why I'm here. Yeah. It's my superpower. Questions on meditation. Do you feel like you understand the basics of what meditation is? Being relaxed and being energized, we want to be in that happy state. Once we're in that happy state, much like every athlete. Now, you've watched, Olympic athletes. Are they stressed out at the moment they're doing their thing? No. You look at someone who's pole vaulting, right? This massive, like whatever, how many feet long pole, right before they've begun running. Just that moment. Do you feel that they've gathered themselves entirely into their body at that time? Do you not feel that their entire explosive energy is now at their disposal and they're going to use it? Right? That's the same state. You want to be in a state where all your mental energy, all your physical energy, all your entire being is available to you. Then you can direct it wherever you want. So relaxed and energized, rested and energized with the body, with the breath, and with the mind. And the body, it's easy, you're sitting on this, so you can relax. The breath, you're alternating between, being fully aware and being fully relaxed. So you go in and out. But with the thoughts, with the mind, you need a place to rest it. And that's why we pick the tip of the nose to rest our mind. You could pick many other parts. You could pick a sound, you could pick more parts of your breath, but that's how it works. You don't need any tools for this. You don't need any other classes for this. Everything you need to know, you already know. Everything you need to have, you already have. But once you master it, then you will be able to do what you want to do in the moment. Take tests, run sprints, win the Olympics, whatever you want. But you could do it only when you're fully gathered in your own being. And that's what meditation's about. All right? So, you mind if I close with the closing prayers? Is that all right?
Go ahead. Yes, of course.
All right, this one's a prayer for world peace. So you can go for the Miss World competition right after this. So what it is I'll describe what it means in English first. It's not addressed to a deity. It's addressed with a surrendering spirit. So you have to bow. Who or what you bow to is entirely up to you, right? And that's the thing. So you could chant the same prayer and you would not, it would not be offensive to your tradition. As far as I'm concerned, of course, you would, yeah. All right, so what it means is, may everyone be happy. May everyone be free from all diseases. May everyone see goodness and auspiciousness in everything. May none be unhappy or distressed. May none be unhappy or distressed. Om, peace, peace, peace. And now I'll chant it. Just sit with your eyes closed. If you want, you can bring your palms together. Either way, it's okay. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And now, blinking, open your eyes. Namaskar. Thank you very much.